Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are moving right along in these NBA playoffs. We are recording this on Thursday, but we're talking about Friday night's games here, and we have Barrett Props for you guys. A couple from each of the three games that we have here on the slate for Friday night. Also have a best bets video up for you, so we've got just some picks from the slate in general there, including some things outside of these player props for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page so you can check those out as well. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out all the great content we're continuing to put up there for you guys, and use the odds finder tool I always tell you about. Make sure you're getting the best odds available to you and all the bets that you want to throw out there this NBA postseason. Nate, let's go ahead and run through our first NBA player prop. I will say normally that I would be going through our record, which I'd be happy to do as we are sizzling hot this week and above roughly 12 units combined on the week so far, with one more day to go here on the weekday that we're bringing you guys these. Just don't know what happened to Thursday night's props yet, so we are going to skip the record for right now and just jump right into this first prop, Nate.
Yeah, we do know Joel Embiid didn't get kicked out for a crotch kick, though Draymond would have. But yeah, I'm looking at the other MVP center candidate, Joker, to score 23.5 points. And usually we might talk about assists with Joker, but in playoffs, you do see the scoring go up if the assists go down just by the nature of the game, especially on the road. His usage has been much higher. His last 6 road playoff games, 36% usage, getting 27 points per game and 12 boards. Versus 31% in his last 5 at home in the playoffs, still scoring 27 points per game because he's ridiculously efficient. Rudy Gobert has not bothered him. He's averaging 29 and 11 and 10 in his last 10 regular season against Gobert. That's pretty much exactly what he put up here in game 2, 27-9-9. After chilling in game 1, look, the Wolves brought it in game 2. They were in the game. They're going to bring it even more at home to try to avoid this season ending. And the way they're going to play defense, I mean, they limit assists, right? The second fewest assists per game since the All-Star break. So that to me says, like, all right, Joker, make something happen, and he'll do that soundboard shuffle. He'll do whatever. He'll put Rudy in the torture chamber and get buckets. And we see that more on the road, where the Nuggets are playing less team ball. Again, road regular season since the start of February, 28% usage versus 25 at home. So 23.5 points is the pick here, but 34.5 points in rebounds I think is just as good. 11 rebounds is a pretty easy bet for Joker against a team that has the 4th worst rebounding rate. They've been even worse since the All-Star break, and also have the 3rd worst offensive rating at home since the All-Star break, which I don't know what to think of that. I don't understand why there's so much worse at home scoring here, but that would mean more rebounds.
Are you trying to indicate that there's something perplexing about this Minnesota Timberwolves team that you can't predict kind of really can't predict when somebody's going to go off on their team? But I do agree that Joker is going to take on a huge load here for the Nuggets on the road, where really not quite as many players play that well for them as we've seen them struggle, at least defensively. But he knows that he's got to really, there's going to be something to putting the team on his back in this game. But I also think right now we're seeing playoff Murray do that. And that's why I'm going to just move on to my second pick, where I'm talking about Jamal going over 23.5 points, if that sounds familiar. I mean, honestly, I was just looking it up to see what it would be for them both to get 25 and parlay that together, and it's plus 400. If you're interested in maybe a quarter of a unit on that, just get some bigger odds on your money there for both of them to get 25 in a game that I think you can expect them to come out and have high usage rates once again. Now, in the first 2 games, I do feel like I don't know what to do with the first one. Jamal was not really cooking. He was fine in that game and still got over 23.5 points, which is his prop tonight in that one, and played 33 minutes. They probably didn't even need him for all of those, which was weird in general that Mike Malone had his guys out there at the end, whatever. More importantly, this one will probably be closer, I think is what we're both expecting. One of my fun bets in the first video there, we talk about best bets, is for the T-Wolves to come out hot and keep this and take a lead in the first quarter, and then the Nuggets to come back and win the game. That also just really like them to win the first quarter, to be honest, in the Timberwolves as they play for their lives. So that's going to keep this game close. Jamal Murray, it's playoff Murray time, in my opinion. I know we've got a lot of games of him in the bubble, but there's something to Jamal when it comes down to big games. Like there's playing well in the bubble, and then there's having 2 50-point games in a series in the bubble, right? Like that's what he did against Utah, which was insane. And I think he's got like 3 50-point games in the playoffs now, which is insane. So yeah, I'm going to continue to ride with him. In his last 10 in the playoffs, he's at 28 points a game in 40 minutes, and that's what he's back to now. He played 39 as the T-Wolves started to come back in that third quarter in game 2. They needed him, and he and Joker to play a ton more minutes, which is what they're going to get in a game, 40 plus each in a game that's we expect to, be a much closer down to the end of the game there, causing them all to play. So there was a little bit of fear in me at first in terms of like maybe Jamal wasn't as good on the road as of late, but that's just these like gross stats that you look at if you just have a very, very, broad lens of like, oh, he hasn't done that well on the road at the end of the season. But in reality, like there was a number of games in there where he didn't even end up playing 30 minutes because they didn't need them. He played 9 in one of them and scored 2. And it still had a bunch of points in games that they needed, and getting over 24 or getting over 23 to 24 in this one. So I do think the usage rate is going to continue to be there for him. 34% in the first 2, including 39% in that last game where they were like, sure, go ahead and drop your points here, man. Like we know when to give you the ball and let you go. And I think that'll continue to be the case in this one.
Yeah, because he's been guarded by the shell of Mike Conley and Ant, who's just completely focusing on offense, and Jaden McDaniels is out, and Cat is playing out of position. And yeah, it's just really easy for both these guys to attack and be the kind of 1-2 punch we saw in the bubble. Yeah, but now that Jamal's back, he's been resting a lot during the regular season, and now, just like Kawhi to an extent, we're seeing him take off in the playoffs, although I don't know. Finally, Kawhi, I guess, was unable to sustain playing every other night, and he's just going to sit in a playoff game. But neither here nor there.
To bring it up.
Here we are looking at the Celtics and ways to bet on Derrick White, who just, I still 15.5 points is where he's at with points. I'm actually going to go with the peripheral stats here, though. 5 rebounds for plus 115 or 8.5 rebounds and assists, but not as good odds here. I mean, it's just minutes, right? I mean, he's playing 36 minutes per game in this series, giving you 25 points, 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and outplaying Trae Young pretty badly. Per 36 on the season, he's at 16 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists, so the peripherals are there. But really, it's the matchup with Atlanta that he's thrived in. His last 4 regular season against them, where he's played the whole game, actually, or I mean, he was pulled early and won that. It was the end of the season, but 21 points, 5.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists. He has like a 160 offensive rating against this Hawks team. The Hawks, I think, are going to go smaller, more Bogdanovich, less John Collins, who, as I said, is kind of lost out there, right, in this matchup. So if you go smaller, then Missoula, who's already kind of dictating this, is just like, look, I'm just going to put my best guys out there. And that means Derrick White and Marcus Smart at the same time, and the Jays, and then we'll just rotate our centers because they're both frail and we need to save them. So, I mean, Al's just old. He's not frail. So more guards, more time for White, more rebounding for White because he's got to get down in there. More scoring in the paint, as Atlanta's given up the second most paint points on the year and the second most assists at home since the All-Star break. So points, assists, rebounds, it should all be there for White. I mean, he's going to play like 36 minutes again. Then you gotta take those peripherals.
Big Derrick White stands here. Shout out Buffs, University of Colorado. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with the points, to be honest with you, as well. I'm happy to take some Derrick White stuff. I think there's another sort of adult in the room kind of scenario, and I don't want to say that like Marcus Smart is in any way going to be phased out of what Boston does. They're going to rely on him a ton, I'm sure, throughout the playoffs, and there'll be games where he's got it and either Derrick White or Malcolm Brogdon don't, and he gets the bulk of the minutes. But either way, like Derrick White is a great bet to continue being out there with minutes when he has to guard Trae Young. He doesn't even have to. They probably have other guys that could do a good job. He just does the best job as sort of a Trae stopper at this point. So yeah, I'm here for anything that indicates Derrick White's going to be playing for a while and he's going to pick up some stats along the way. So RJ Barrett, got to go under. Sorry, my boy. I do love RJ Barrett more than most Knicks fans, I think. But under 15.5 points, I'm fading him. Minus 105 on DraftKings. I think that's good odds for him to get under on that. I am going to put a a half unit on that, and then a full unit on the points, rebounds, and assists as well. Under that at 22.5. That's kind of low. I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of wish it was closer to 24.5, and then I feel great about it. So maybe you want to do a little, same game parlay with a combo, an alt combo. But at any rate, I'm going under with RJ Barrett, and it's been a rough start to his career. He's hit this prop twice in 7 games in the playoffs. Both of them came in Atlanta when he was option number 2 on the team, had a slightly higher usage rate at that time as well. He hasn't hit, or he only has hit, this prop in terms of either the rebounds at points and assists or the just points 4 times in 14 career games versus Cleveland. Not a good matchup for him either. 15 points per game in those 14 career games, 4 rebounds per game, 2 assists, all in 32 minutes. He played 32 minutes in the first 4 games, first 2 games of this series as well, in each of those. And I don't know how you can play him for that amount of time if he's going to continue to shoot 24% from the field, 12% from deep in that time frame. And he had a 25% usage rate in those games. So if he's putting up that many shots and missing them at 3/4 of them or 90% of them, then I don't know how you can keep him on the floor if you need that position to be available for someone to shoot, as Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are already getting double teamed pretty much every time they get within 15 feet of the basket, knowing that no one's afraid of RJ Barrett shooting right now. And his defense isn't really doing much anyway. It's a little bit better, but his offensive rating of 94 over those 2 games cannot be sustained if the Knicks plan on winning. You gotta forfeit some defense and some toughness that he brings at some point to get the offense. So I do think there's something to that, but he also really wasn't doing much there in game 2. In game 1, he sort of limited, air quotes, Darius Garland in terms of what he did, but Darius Garland's usage rate wasn't close to what it was in game 2. It was obvious that in between game 1 and 2, there was a very clear conversation with Donovan Mitchell and probably a few others that was like, Donnie, you did fine with your shooting percentages despite putting it up 30 times in game 1, but could you get our other all-star worthy point guard involved in this stuff with Darius Garland? And then it was just pass, get Darius Garland involved, and killer first half, and then it was all over from there. And he was just roasting RJ Barrett, who was the majority defender on him. So all of that is just to say, I don't really believe in RJ Barrett in the playoffs, even at home where he's allegedly better over his career because he scores a point or so more when he's at home versus on the road. In his last 10 at home, he's only averaging 16 a game, 3.5 boards and 2.5 assists. So he's kind of being phased out of being needed in this offense as Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart in there a lot as well, who's going to guaranteed get 35, 36 minutes if this is a close game. So just don't like the chances for RJ, and he could easily go under because of a lack of minutes as much as anything else.
We need more Josh Hart. Grind him down. Get the win. RJ,
terrible tips.
Take a seat. Yeah. I don't want to hurt my throat anymore, but yeah, I mean, obviously not a big fan of RJ Barrett. And I mean, Randall, even though he's hurt, he's apparently still going to try to put the team on his shoulders and shoot the ball 20 times minimum. So just not a ton of usage to go around for him to get these stats. So yeah, I'm with the under.
Yeah, unfortunately. I'm hoping I'm wrong. Maybe I'm counter jinxing the Knicks because we're just saying that we don't think they're going to win in Cleveland, which you literally did say in our best bets video with your Cleveland moneyline picks. So that's all the time we have for you in player props, though. We are staying super hot. I'm very happy to announce that while we've been recording this, Cam Johnson put up a ton of points that got me over my prop from Thursday night, which I was really worried about when he picked up 3 quick fouls. So we know that we're already doing pretty well on Thursday. Come back and see us as we continue along here. And until we see you next, happy betting.